I feel like we've all gone through this at some point, but either you or somebody you know or someone that you've seen on the internet is in the midst of spiritual overload. You know what I'm saying? Every single thing, every fiber of their being has everything to do with something spiritual. Now, don't get me wrong. We're all spiritual, electrical, magnetic beings, blah, 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 blah. I know. But sometimes, can you just relax? So this is something I have to remind myself of often. You know, a lot of times we need to remember that not every single person around us is going to be hip to the stuff that we know. And we can't sit here and judge people every single time it happens. Don't get me wrong. Is it stubborn to, like, you know, when the person wakes up and they're like, oh, bro, you was talking about that. Yeah, I was 3 years ago. But yeah, I'm glad you finally woke up, I guess. You can't help but be happy for him. But at the same time, you can't help and just be like, I mean, if you just listened to me way back when I was presenting all the evidence to you, then you would have known this 3 years faster. But hey, different strokes for different folks. You know, everything reveals itself to the individual at their time. And that's something that we all need to remember. You know, I find myself there all the time. You know, you try to, like, you learn something, you go and test it. And for me personally, I like to find the hard stuff, do the hard stuff so people don't have to. So it can just be like, yo, trust me, bro, just do it. You know, the semen retention, you know, the manifestation, you know, paying the pearl of great price. You know, the pearl of great price is literally just pretty much abandoning everything that you thought you know to start over. You know, and like for me, when I paid the great price, you know, I was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this manifestation stuff. He said, trust it, just fall into God's, you know, listening to Neville Goddard, you know, he said, like, fall into God's hands and just, hey, whatever you put into your mind will manifest. But if you were to believe the science, if you were to believe the medical, if you were to believe your politics, if you were to believe whoever, you know, you'd be throwing yourself off. You'd be over here saying, well, this didn't happen because this, and this didn't happen because... So sometimes you have to pay the price. Sometimes you pay the price, but someone else didn't, you know? And they still have to use, like, hyper logic to ration their way throughout life. And don't get me wrong, that's another way of thinking, you know? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just there's a certain point to which I believe, my personal belief, is that you're not going to be able to have a chart or a graph for everything. You know, there's not going to always be data. There's not always going to be a laboratory with bubbling vials and flasks, you know, to get you to the answer that you want. It just simply ain't there. Some stuff is literally blocked off to us in this particular time period. You know, in the future, things will unveil itself. But look at how far we are in comparison to the people in the past. That's the macrocosm, the big picture. Now, look at you, spiritual person, truth seeker. You went and found all this type of stuff, but there's still some people that look like they're cavemen and cavewomen to you. You know, I know people look at me and listen to me like I'm crazy when I'm talking about the sexual studies stuff. Semen retention, what the fuck, bro? No, I'm busting these nuts. I do the caveman voice because that's what you sound like. But hey, it's neither here nor there. I'm just a nerd, you know, and I just figured this stuff out. But in order for me to figure out some of the big questions that I had in my life, I had to go out and find the answers myself. But some people just want to be spoon-fed their entire lives, so let them be slow. You know, one of the things that they don't tell you on the spiritual journey, one of the things that they don't tell you up front on that truth-seeking journey is the fact that you're going to learn so much stuff that people are not ready for or not willing to listen to. And you have to accept that. You might be the most, you know, the smartest, most intelligent, the most wokest, woke of everybody in your family, everybody in your friend group, everybody in your office, everybody in wherever. You might be the most tapped in. You might be high-fiving your ancestors every night, and that's cool. But the people around you, if they're not ready for it, they're not going to be, you know, open and willing to learn the knowledge that you're willing to spit out. You know, cast not your pearls before swine. And that's not like to step on people and like put yourself above anybody, but it's just one of those things that says, hey, don't waste your time for people that ain't gonna listen. They take in all the bullshit. They'll take whatever. They can't differentiate the slop from the grade A, you know, the ribeye steak or whatever. I don't know steak words, but you know what I'm saying? They'd say they don't know regular eggs versus cage-free eggs. They think it's just, you know, hippie talk when you realize, like, their cows were listening to Beethoven's Fifth, you know what I'm saying, and humanely slaughtered. It don't matter. It's on my plate. There's a big difference, you see, because when the cows and the pigs and the chickens and shit, when they all scared, oh, you ain't gonna listen to me, so you just want to eat all those fear chemicals. You know what? You got it. And you deal with your anxiety, you deal with your high blood pressure, you deal with all that type of stuff because you are what you eat. And if that animal was feeling all that type of stuff, well, welcome that energy into your body. But hey, I'm just a weird ass nerd dude. You know what I'm saying? People don't tell you all that. They don't tell you it's going to be a lonely road sometimes, and you just got to accept it. A lot of the times we learn so much that we tend to overload people with what we know. Like that's our baseline now. We have completely ascended and transformed to the point that our brains just operate faster. We hear things that people don't, and we just wonder, how do you not? But you got to think about it like this. The information that you have is very powerful. Hold up. You're messing up my flow with the phone calls. But like, the information that you have is very powerful. Think of your information that you have like a pillow. A pillow is very useful when you put it behind somebody's head. But that same pillow put in front of somebody's face, and then with a silence, good, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? That you're doing more damage. You're doing more harm than good when you're trying to force feed people the information that you have. You have to remember, when you're operating from a higher vibration, your brain quite literally operates faster. When you have people that are over here still eating like trash, which I do from time to time, I will fully admit I'm not perfect. When people eat like trash, they're doing drugs, they're doing a whole bunch of low vibrational stuff. Well, lower vibration means what? They move slower. They tend to be lazy. They tend to be tired. They tend to be stressed. They tend to put all of their energy into negative things. They're literally moving at a lower vibration, which means they are more dense, which means they are moving slower. They quite literally cannot keep up with you. So why are you going to force feed them? Like I said, the pillow in the back of the head, the pillow in the front of the head. Which one is more helpful? So, I get it. Crystals are new to you. Manifestation is new to you. You just now learned about Ma'at. You learned about Kemet. You learned about the sylphs. You learned about the insert spiritual word here. You learned about Metatron. You learned about sacred geometry. You learned about numerology. Oh, what? Oh, look, I saw 2 people, and 2 means this. Oh, there was 22 people. And then there was 14 trees, and then 1 + 4 is 5, and then 5 means, and then yeah, that's cool because it's interesting to you. Sometimes you have to go through these on your own, and you realize, just like how regular life goes, you realize that too was a phase. That too was just a lesson in your life. You can't push people away with your information and say, people ain't ready for me, so they distance themselves. You do have to realize that every finger that you point out, how many fingers are pointing back at you? If you try to force feed people, sometimes people just don't rock with you no more. Why are you mad at them? They made their decisions, keep it pushing. That's why I'm happy I wouldn't say mastered, but, but I really got really good at being alone. You know what I'm saying? I got really good at being alone first. I've always been a loner, so when people aren't ready for the information I have, I don't bother them. But at the same time, I'm not going to be talking about Cardi B twerking. Like, I don't care. I have other things to go do. I have a book to go read. I have a podcast to listen to. I have thoughts to go vocalize to myself. You know what I'm saying? So if that's how you want to spend your time, cool. Go do that over there. I'll be over here. But like I say, sometimes, you just find yourself getting frustrated. People don't see what you see, hear what you hear, and it takes them 10 years to find out something that you deem to be very basic. But at the same time, you never know who's going to outpace you in the future as well. You never know who's going to look at you like you don't know anything in the spiritual sense, in the science sense, in the mathematics sense, in the whatever field that you're in. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be someone that knows more than you. So don't overload people that ain't ready for it. You should be high vibrational enough to know when someone can or cannot ingest the information that you're dishing out there. Till the next one.